What's going on, good people? It's Will. I wanted to go over my two of my guns and just kind of describe the difference between how I have them set up. I have a Gen 5 G34 on the right and a Gen 4 front serration summer special on the left. So the gun on the left is a Glock 17, gun on the right is a Glock 34. But I had them set up differently. One's a competition, one is for self-defense. So we'll start with the competition gun. You can see I have silicone carbide on the grip. I actually would like to do that on the self-defense gun too. You can see I have Talon grips on here. They've seen better days. I kind of beat the hell out of this gun. It's seen a lot of rounds, but she's still rolling. The Talon grips are actually a little more aggressive, but they're so aggressive that they were actually rubbing the skin off of my support side palm, so to the point where I had to put a Band-Aid on it because I was bleeding. On the right side, the silicone carbide is very aggressive, so you don't have any issues with your hands slipping, even in the summertime when your palms are sweaty, but it's not so aggressive that it's tearing up your skin. So to me, that's kind of the sweet spot. So we'll see how that lasts and how long that stays kind of at that perfect texture where it's giving me enough grip, but not so much that it's tearing up my skin. Sight-wise, on the self-defense gun, the Glock 17, I have some Ameriglow T-caps. Can't really see the front sight too much, but it's a square notch with a square front sight. They are night sights. The back had a color stripe that you're supposed to put the square on top of, but I actually blacked that out with a Sharpie. I prefer black rear and, a brightly colored front sight. They are night sights, but night sights really kind of are overrated, being as though if it's dark enough, you can't see your target anyway, so you'll still need some form of white light, which I have on the front of the gun. And these are my competition sights, so these are not night sights. These are fiber optics. So I have a red fiber optic in the front, which I'm going to switch out for the green. And then again, blacked out. These are serrated so that you don't get any glare, but I've never had that issue with the other pistol that has a smooth rear sight. Now on the Gen 5, it has ambidextrous slide stops. So what I ended up doing actually is, you can see on the G17, it came with extended controls. So normally this is flat, like it is on the Glock 34. See how that's flat? And on this one, there's a little nub. So they both came with the slide stop just like this, but I actually removed it on the competition gun because I find myself riding it because my grip is so high. And if I get to that last round, it wasn't locking back. So I'll probably end up swapping it out on this one as well. I haven't used this gun that much lately, but most likely I'll end up switching that back out for a traditional Glock 17 one and not the one for the 34, which is the extended one you see here. Trigger-wise, the G34, the competition gun, my trigger is breaking right around 3 pounds. And on the self-defense gun, I'm breaking somewhere between 4 and 4.5, somewhere in that range. I do have an aftermarket connector in the Glock 17, the self-defense gun, but internally it's stock. So the aftermarket connector is actually a Glock part. It's an OEM part. It's just a minus connector. And then on the competition gun, I have the Glock Store Black Yikes connector, which gives you kind of a rolling break. I took the striker spring and brought that down to 4 pounds from the stock 5.5 rather. And I have a decreased power plunger spring in there as well. So I did a bunch of stuff and then I polished the shit out of it. Did get it down to 3 pounds. And then I have an Apex trigger, which also comes with a stock trigger bar, an OEM trigger bar. On the self-defense gun, I have an Overwatch Precision. I got the polymer trigger. Same thing, trigger bar is OEM, so internals on that gun are still pretty much straight from the factory. But we'll take a look at the different types of brakes. So on the self-defense gun, you're going to get, I don't know if I can get this in here, but you're going to get a really hard wall right there. So there's some take up and a really hard wall. There's some creep, and then the gun's going to break. Reset is still tactile and audible, but the difference is on the competition gun, there's a wall. It's right there, but you just kind of have to know where it is because this one will actually just roll right through. See, that broke. There's not much of a bump there. It'll just roll right through. So it's closer to almost like a revolver trigger than it is striker fire. Same thing, reset is still good, but it's so light that you can just pull right through that wall without much resistance. Great in competition. I wouldn't recommend that for self-defense because you don't want to accidentally squeeze your shot off because someone bumped you or someone popped out you didn't expect and you ended up squeezing the trigger. So competition, not bad. Targets don't really move. Self-defense, I prefer the hard wall. That's just my personal preference. So let's get some trigger pulls on these. I'm just going to do one each. So we'll do the Glock 17 first. I'm not pulling with my other hand. I just have to make sure I'm on the trigger safety so the safety, or the trigger rather, will actually move. It's always a trick, especially to try to get this on camera. All right. All right. So with the connector, she's breaking just over 4 pounds. Again, I'm not going to do an average. I know where they break. That one normally breaks around 4, maximum 4.5. And then we'll do the competition gun. Same thing. I'm just getting my finger there so I can make sure it's engaged in the trigger safety. And this one's breaking, that time right above 3. All right, so it's normally around there to 3. I've never seen it really dip under. I don't know if I can get that in focus or not. There we go. All right, so we're right around 3. But you see I do have a light on the home defense gun or self-defense gun, which is important. You don't know when you're going to need that, whether or not it's going to be in low light conditions. Competition, you already know what your lighting situation is going to be ahead of time. Also on the competition gun, I did lighten the striker spring to the point where some rounds it actually won't fire. So depending on the primer, Winchester primers, it won't fire. I had some Blazer that I have no issue with. Federal tend to be pretty soft, so those are fine. So by lowering the spring weight on the striker spring is what kind of helped me get down to 3 pounds. But there's a cost for that, and that the striker's not coming forward with as much force. So because of that, some primers it won't break. I left the 5.5 pound in the self-defense gun because I want to make sure it fires any kind of round possible. I won't have any issues. And with most stock guns, quality guns, whether it's a Glock, whether it's a SIG, whatever you like, it's going to run whatever ammo that you throw at it for the most part. So those are the major differences, especially with the trigger and the sights are the big thing. Internally, I fucked with this gun a whole bunch just to get it where I want it. And on this one, not so much. So I just want to make sure that I kept that factory reliability. So those are some major differences. If you have any questions, let me know.